There we go.
Thank you. And I'm going to. Okay, so I'm going to walk us through how to make a Google form. And if you came in late and you don't want to learn how to make a Google form because you already know, feel free to shut off your camera and join us in 20 minutes when Debbie Lee is here. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry. I just hit something. Let's see. I can run this again. I have my to reposition all of the people. And it doesn't want to go. There we go. Okay, why does that keep happening?
You might have a link embedded in the.
Oh, that
So
is.
try using
Yep,
the
I'm
arrows.
using the arrows. There must be a link hiding in there. Thank you. It's like, I have no idea what's happening. So the first place to start when you're making a form, there's a few ways to go about this. So these two ways that I've listed that I'm going to show you are just the easiest, most straightforward. And I'm just going to walk you through it. So first, I'm going to show you, you could type forms.google.com into your web browser. So if I had just typed that in, it would take me here. And I would then be able to choose either a blank form. I could choose a worksheet or a quiz. This is the template gallery here. So these are all pre-made. So if I want a blank one, I'll just hit it there. But I'm going to go back out. And I'll just have to redo the slideshow here and show you that I could also start from my Google Drive. So in the top right corner, you can see I'm signed in here. It's my Bennington account. You might have multiple Google accounts like I do here. So if you have, you want to be under your group one or your personal one, that's an option. So start from right here and then go to new Google Forms. And remember, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later. And then I can go ahead and choose if I want a blank form or if I want to do it from a template. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a blank form. And the first thing that I want to do is name this form. This is the file name here in the top left corner. And this is the name of, will be the name of title of my form that people see. However, they're linked right now. So if I were to type something in here and click, it's going to go ahead and put that in the file name. But then I can go back and change that. So let's say I'm going to call this sign-on letter. And let's say I am making a sign-on letter. So I am going to show you a link in the resources section that Alexis did during a previous meeting, walking through how to do a sign-on letter. But let's say this one is to Congress to get plastic out of national parks. Okay, so now it's saved. If I hit this folder here, I can see that, I'm just gonna close this window. It's just here on my drive. I could pick a folder to move it into and click move, or I'm just gonna leave it right where it is. So it's all saved. Now, probably the first thing I want to do here is, or second thing I want to do is go up to the palette to customize my theme. So this is the colors and the image that I'm going to choose for the header. With the fonts, I wouldn't, you want this to be clear and readable. So I might choose something a little bit thicker for the title here. You can change the size. And then for the questions, again, something probably sans serif like Arial or Roboto is great. But feel free to, go ahead and change your fonts or your size. I'm going to leave these as is. I could change that to Arial if I want. And so the header image, when you click this, you're going to be first brought to Google has a bunch of stock headers. You're probably not going to use those. You're probably going to want to use your own. If you have a Google Photos account, photos in your account, they'll pop up here. I don't have that for my Bennington account, so that's why it's not there. I can show you later with my personal account if you'd like. But what I think you'll use the most is uploading a photo. So I'm going to browse, and I actually downloaded something to my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and select that. And you'll see that the square, the cropping is smaller than what I chose. And that's because the header size is 1600 by 400 pixels, and that's a 4:1 ratio. So even if my the image that I chose isn't exactly 1600 by 400, if it's that 4:1 ratio, it'll still fit really well. For the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and just crop mine. So I'm going to lose that bottom text. But you could, create an image in Canva. You could have a photo that you can use a photo editing program to resize it and crop it. So once that loads, you will see that the purple went away. And that's because it automatically will try to match your photo with the colors will be very close to your photo. So if you look down in the color palette, Google chose these photos, these, colors for me. And if I choose a different color, the background colors, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of nuanced. The background colors will change to different tones and shades. I can also choose a new color. Let's say I wanted to choose red. I wouldn't do that for this form, but I can click add. And now, again, I have different background options. I'm going to go ahead with this green. That looks good. So once I'm done, I'll just X out of that. And then I'm going to move all these. There we go. So, oops, I didn't want to do that. The next thing I probably want to do is go ahead, if this is, again, a sign-on letter, or even if this is another kind of form, I'm going to put some kind of introduction here. So I might type directly in here. You can also copy and paste if you had the letter. If this were a sign-on letter, you could copy and paste that in here. You can link the text by selecting it just like you would in Google Docs or a Word program. Insert your link. Whoops. There are bullets and numbers. You can take the formatting out of the text. So it's just like the regular Google controls for text. So I am going to come down. Once you have your text up here, you can come down and write your questions. And when you click this drop down, you have options for what the answers will be. So for instance, if I choose short answer and my question is email, so now someone will be able to enter their email here, and I will show you a preview as well. This is the fields like your, someone's name and their email. Those are fields that we typically want to leave as required, but there, there might be some optional questions that you don't want the required button toggled for. But if you set it to be required, the person will not be able to submit the form until they fill out that answer. So I can also import questions. So if I had another form that I've done, I could select all the questions from that form, or maybe just a few, so that I don't have to redo those. And if I click import, you'll see that they're right there. And I can still go in and edit those if I change my mind about what I would want. If I don't want it, just click the trash can and get rid of it. So I'm going to do one here that, let's do a drop down. So if I were scheduling a potluck, what beverages will you be bringing? And then I can, whoops, type in my options here. I don't know, coffee. And anytime that I want to preview what this will look like, I can just click the eye icon up at the top. And now I can see those drop-down options. And I can also see there's a red star next to any of the fields that are required. So I'm going to head back here. Again, if I don't want something, I can just hit the X. So once I have all of my questions, oh, and actually I was going to show you that there might be, you might want to add an image. And again, if you have images associated with your account, they'll be there. This goes right into my drive. I don't really have any great photos there. So I am going to go ahead again and upload. So I'm going to browse, and I downloaded a photo here. And once the photo is in the form, that's too big. So all I have to do is grab from the corner and drag it into the size I want. And then you can add a title for your image, which is nice I think that if someone is using like a screen text reader, that it will read that. So if I want to write plastic bottle of water here. And let's say this was going along with the state beach park. I think I said that backwards, but you get the point. There's also this little box here. I forgot to note that we'll just copy this input field and make just a perfect copy of it if you wanted to copy that question and then just make small changes. So once I have all of my questions entered, if I wanted, I could share this at any point with someone else to help me work on it or to proof me. So if I click these three dots up in the top right-hand corner and choose add collaborators, I'm going to have Alexis. I'm going to say, please help me proof this form. And this just gives me the choice of editor. Sometimes you'll see editor or viewer. And then I'm going to click send. Sorry, Alexis, you're going to get that in your inbox. And so I can add whoever I want to that. Again, I can click the I can preview it. And let me just make sure, I think that was my other preview there. Okay, so next, I'm going to go ahead and once it's all proofed and ready, I'm going to go ahead and send it. So you'll see the purple send button here. I can enter emails. I can just copy and paste these in. Again, I'm just going to choose Alexis. I can also choose this link button and just copy the link here. This is really long. So if you click the shortened URL, that's going to give me a much shorter link that I can share in an email. So you can just simply hit copy and take that right into your email and paste it. There are these links to Facebook and Twitter as well, which I never use, but you can click on it and it will take you to create a Facebook post. So most of the time you're going to be grabbing this link and throwing it into an email, but you can also, again, add your emails here. Okay, so after, and you know what, I'll just hit send, just send that. So what I want to show you now, so I've sent it. Let's say Alexis fills it out. Hopefully a lot more people fill it out. We're going to look at this. We're going to look at the responses, but I'm going to go ahead and look at a form that actually has some responses on it. So it is in my other account. Oh, it wants me to. Okay, let's see. I'll get to it one way or another. Okay. So I'm going to choose this one because I know there's responses in here. So this is a really simple meeting survey. So this is a great use of a form to find out when do people want to meet? How long do they want to meet for? This one didn't collect any emails because it was just all the group members just taking a poll. So if I click on this responses tab, I see there's 21 responses. And the summary is going to show me really these great pie charts And so it's really easy to see, okay, most people want 7 p.m. There's a tie between 6 and 7:30. How long? Overwhelmingly 1 hour versus an hour and a half. And then there were some open questions, some answers from the open questions here. I can also go click the question button and it will take me question by question, show me the responses. I can click on that. I can get whichever response I want. And that already took me to the individual tabs. So from here, again, I'm just looking at these responses in this layout, or I can look at each person's survey and click through and see what each person said. So that's all great, but this spreadsheet capability is what is really awesome, because if you're collecting emails and information, you can just export it right into Google Sheets. And again, for emails, this is priceless, and it just takes whatever the question was will be the top title of your column, and then you'll have that information here. And this is saved right into the drive that it was associated with, where the form lives. So again, I could go in here, I could move it to a different folder, I could share this. It's already shared with people, I could share it with more people. So that is very handy.
And that sheet is so nice because it updates automatically when someone fills out the form.
Yes, huge time saver. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything on here. Alexis, is there anything else that you think I missed before I move on to show? Yeah.
One quick feature on this responses tab, if you click those 3 little dots next to the sheet, so it has to be on the responses tab. You can select get email notifications for new responses. Now, every form collaborator has to select that if they want to get a notification when someone fills out the form, but that's a super nifty feature, so you don't have to constantly check your form sheet for new responses. You can just get notified. We use that for the calendar form, so both Christina and I get notifications when you fill it out. So I recommend that feature.
Yes, thank you. That's also an awesome time-saving help. Okay. So I'm looking at the time. I am just going to show you one other thing here. So I mentioned that this is great for sign-on letters, and within the local groups and affiliates resources section, there is this little toolkit here on how to create a sign-in letter and a recording of Alexis walking through this. So I highly recommend watching that video, and you can read through the steps here. And there's some great images, again, showing you, walking through the form and showing you those important highlights that I just shared with you. So those are a couple, a couple of ideas. If you're having events, if you want to take a meeting time poll, if you can think of anything else, any other ideas for what you might use a Google form for, please feel free to put them in the chat. That might help another group out as well. And because I can't see, well, I'll stop my share. Actually, I'm going to be sharing the video. Alexis, has Debbie Lee joined by chance?
Yes, Debbie Lee is here.
I'm here.
Great, awesome. So I am going to go ahead and try to find where I have my tab for the video. I am going to be turning it over to Debbie Lee, who is the director and founder of Cafeteria Culture, in a moment. But I just wanted to play this video first about plastic-free lunch day. So she's going to be talking to us about this. And Debbie Lee, please feel free to share more about yourself and your work. But in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and play this video to get us started.
It's not.
You can take action.
Right.
It's
The video is not playing, it's just the sound. But usually it's the other way around. So
interesting. Let me
and
try.
that's actually oh yeah.
Let me try. So you see it smaller here, right?
Yeah, maybe just go right to Vimeo. Just hit, I don't know why it's not. It looks
maybe
like
because
it's
it's
loading,
embedded.
but it's not playing. Let's see if it plays better there.
Yeah, good idea. How about that?
Now it's playing.
Okay. I'm going to try maximizing it.
Now it's not playing again.
Now this.
There we go.
You can take action right in the cafeteria. Plastic-free lunch day.
Plastic-free lunch day.
What is plastic-free lunch day?
It's a day that our school lunches will be prepared without plastic.
It's a day that we can significantly reduce single-use plastics in the cafeteria.
No plastic, no plastic. Wow, can kitchen staff do that?
Yep, they're all on board. Plastic-free lunch day started right here in this cafeteria by students from PS15 in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Yeah, that's our own plastic-free lunch day. It's in a movie, Microplastic Madness. Students from our school asked, why don't we do it citywide? Then the school food people approved it. Now, it's coming November 2nd, Plastic-Free Lunch Day all across the USA. Why is the Plastic-Free Lunch Day such a big deal? Is it just for one day? It is a big deal. We get to show everyone what's possible. And one plastic-free day can lead to more plastic-free days. Here are the results from Plastic-Free Lunch Day that we did at PS15. We reduced plastic items by 558 items.
There are about 1,800 public schools in New York City.
If all 1,800 schools reduced the same amount, it would be 558 times 1,800 equals about 1 million less plastic items in New York City schools just from lunch per day.
Are you on board?
We can all come together to make this big action day a huge success.
Join us.
Let's do this.
Thanks, Christina.
You're welcome.
Good. I put a smile. I'm so tired. I've been a meeting after meeting, and it made me smile. So I guess the team did a pretty good job. I just want to start by saying thank you so much to Beyond Plastic and to Judith for promoting, on social media, helping us to promote the this promo video and the initiative. And thank you all for all what you're doing. I see a lot of names here of people I know, so I'm really happy to see all of you. And I realize that some of you are connected to schools and some of you are not. So please put your questions in the chat while I'm talking to you. You don't have to wait to ask questions. But the first thing that I just wanted to say is that even though we're marketing this obviously towards 2 schools across the US, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. Everybody is really invited. We even have some government offices that are joining us, which we haven't had quite a lot of time to promote. But what we're finding is that for districts where there are schools, even if there's one school involved, if one business, one organization, one government agency supports them by saying, we adults are going to do this the same day, that's actually gigantic. So I really encourage all of you from Beyond Plastics to reach out, and also you can reach out to me to find out if anybody in your area is actually already leading a plastic-free lunch day. But Plastic-Free Lunch Day is built upon the work that cafeteria culture had did in the past with getting styrofoam trays out of schools. And what we found out was we could do one small pilot in one school, then do a few pilots New York City wide, then make it citywide as like a once a week initiative with styrofoam to get styrofoam out of schools. We did it with what was called Trayless Tuesdays. And it was successful. After Trayless Tuesdays, people were like, oh, I get this. Like, so often people just need to see change, as many of you know. They can't visualize it. And sometimes those small pilots, contrary to what, I hear people say all the time, oh, we'll need big sets of data, we'll need a lot of money to make this change. And sometimes it's not true, that actually you can lead a small pilot, collect some good data in one small pilot and document it with photos, videos, whatever you can do, and then show people what the change looks like. And people are ready to go on board, which was true with styrofoam. So we did this Trayless Tuesdays. People said, oh, we can do this. After years of saying we can't do it. And we're building upon that same model. Plastic-free lunch day was first led by these fifth graders in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Many who were living in public housing, almost all of them living on the front line of the climate crisis. And what was truly amazing was this was through a grant, the program funded by EPA Region 2 under Judith Eng's leadership. She was not the one who decided on the grant, but I love this connection really with Judith and Beyond Plastics. And also that Judith understood the power of media, because media production and storytelling was part of that project. And these students came up with the idea of looking at the plastic usage within their own cafeteria after they were out in their community. They led street litter surveys, they led beach litter surveys, they compared the data, they led outreach. This is all documented in our movie, Microplastic Madness, which is free for all K through 12 schools and free for all of you if you'd like to access it. I'll share a link with you. And I'll share that link for teachers in a minute too. So what led to that was there was one day of plastic-free lunch day at PS 15 in Red Hook, Brooklyn in 2018. In 2019, we released the movie and we had a panel with the students. And at that panel discussion, they went from being 11 years to 12 years old. And they said to the school food director of New York City, we want to do this citywide. And at first he said, well, maybe we can do this in 5 years. And of course, if you're 12, 5 years is half your lifetime almost. And they were like, forget it. Like, we got to do it sooner. And sure enough, he said that we got New York City to commit to doing it May 2020 citywide. Then the pandemic happened, but they kept on with their commitment. And finally, last spring, it was led citywide in New York City schools across all elementary schools. The school lunch was served without any plastic out of the kitchen. There were still milk cartons that had plastic, and students could still request a plastic utensil if they wanted, or plastic cup. But the menu was designed as a handheld menu. And what's led from that is that now we're partnering, Cafeteria Culture is partnering with the Urban School Food Alliance, which is representing, it's a nonprofit also, representing 18 of the largest urban school districts across the country, which was really our plan day one, and it happened. They agreed. We pitched it to them this past summer, and they said, yes, we're on board. That doesn't guarantee that all of their districts are joining, but so far we have New York City, Dallas, San Diego, Baltimore, possibly Boston, possibly Houston, and many smaller districts and schools around the country who are joining us on November 2nd for this day. So what I'm here to pitch to you all tonight, and I could put up a slides, but I thought it's better just to talk at this hour, that we would love for you to help us with outreach in your communities. If you do not have a contact with a public school or your public school district to perhaps help with outreach to connecting, or maybe we can help to connect you. Of course, it's always stronger coming from inside a community. And you're all doing such amazing work already. Some of you, I know the work you're doing, which is really amazing in your communities. And why is this important? In particular, in states like where Dana is from, in Missouri, and other states where there are preemption laws, and there may not be you may not be able to pass a local law for a plastic bag ban, for instance, or styrofoam ban. There's still incredible possibility with students to drive policy change, in particular in in procurement, where we're spending big government dollars, which is often, sometimes that policy can be changed faster than through legislation anyway. So it's even not just in states where plastic bans are preempted, but it's Florida is another state. I've been trying really hard to get Miami-Dade on board, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it. But there's a couple of Urban School Food Alliance districts in Florida, which was part of my original inspiration to get them on board. So I'm curious if you all feel that that's possible, even if you're in New York City, for instance. And New York City, one thing that I left out, and then I'll open up for questions. New York City, we're excited to announce, they haven't announced it yet, but they're always really slow in announcing everything, and particularly in this administration for some reason. But New York City will now be leading a monthly plastic-free menu day, which is huge, actually. And again, we look at that as like, one plastic day leads to more plastic days. And we're pretty sure it's, it could have been pizza day, but they didn't pick pizza day. They picked mozzarella stick day, which is great because pizza menu day happens every week. And we expect for students and school food staff and other school administrators to say, well, again, why aren't we doing this every pizza day? It's already a handheld menu. Are there questions? I could go on talking more, but I want to open up the floor to any questions that you might have about plastic-free lunch day. And actually, if you think it's possible to build some momentum in this short period of time in your own community. One last thing also is that a school or anyone does not necessarily have to sign up for the full plastic-free lunch day doing the whole deal. You could do one plastic-free initiative. So we have some schools that are still using straws. And it's an easy lift to say, okay, on November 2nd, we are not going to serve any plastic straws. Or San Diego schools, for instance, they have a lot of meals that are prepared in a satellite kitchen and then delivered. So they're saying that they're reducing plastic as much as possible, as much as they possibly can as a start. So it's really like to look at as one day. And we do see that engaging a community on one day of action leads to more. So are there any questions?
Feel free to just unmute yourself if you have a question.
I don't have a question, Debbie, but just a comment that we recently launched commercial composting in our district schools. So we have 3 schools in our district, and we launched that about a month ago. So so we have that connection right now with the principals and the environmental teachers. So we will, and Susan Casey from Zero Waste Schools and IFSC.
7 generations, right?
Yes, 7 generations ahead.
Right.
They helped us implement the composting program. So we will engage the schools and try to see if they can do something for November 2nd. But I like what you said, that, even if they could just do one item. A few years ago, before the pandemic, what they did was they took their packet that had like the knife and the fork and the spoon and the straw, and then they just took that apart and then provided it individually, and they got rid of straws. So maybe they might do something else this time. So
Seema, what is your school district? Where are you?
I'm in Illinois. It's Lincolnshire School District 103. So we're about, I would say 30 miles north of Chicago.
That's great. So one of the things I wanted to say that I didn't include is about composting. New York City actually just committed to a long-term goal that's been, never happened, but finally now is that by the end of next school year, all public schools, all 1,800 public schools will have composting in schools, which is gigantic. The Department of Ed could use more funding to really make it successful. But what we know already from the pilot days that we've done plastic-free lunch day, that the single-use plastic is the biggest contaminant in the organics bin, in the compost bin. So these 2 initiatives are very hand in hand. And Seema, it's a great pitch for you or anybody you know, depending where, what entry point you have in your own district or in your schools in your neighborhood, that it's really a great way to link these two issues together. So we see like this is a great push for New York City. Like here's a mayor who's been dragging his feet in New York City, really, because he's worried that it's not going to succeed. And he has reasons to worry because they could do it. There's some parts missing. And yet we know already that on Plastic Free Lunch Day, the organics bin will be usable and it'll be easy, that most people, I've spent my 10,000 hours in many public school cafeterias, and we see that most humans, no matter what age they are, can sort up to 3 things. And sometimes school lunch or school breakfast is much worse actually, but school lunch might have 8 to 10 pieces of single-use plastic, especially since the pandemic. It got much worse. Breakfast is much worse. We're just doing our first pilots now with breakfast. It's much more complicated also because there's different service models, but these are, you know, really important. And also I wanted to say that sadly, I just heard from Chicago today, Chicago Public Schools, they will not be joining for Plastic Free Lunch Day. They have a lot of other issues going on. And sadly, you know, I tried to convince them to do just one initiative that day, but the good news is they're looking forward to doing something perhaps in April. There's a lot of school districts who want to do it in April. We were kind of avoiding Earth Day, but of course, that's when a lot of school districts want to do something. So that's also good for anyone who maybe reaches out to someone, they say it's just not enough time. You might say, well, try a small pilot, try 1 school or 2 schools, or do 1 thing in 1 school or 3 things in 1 school. And then that's a way for the district, try to get some media coverage with that. I'm sure that's been part of your training, your great training with Beyond Plastics. So, you know, how can you generate some media? And actually, you know, schools can generate great media around plastic reduction. Thank you, Seema.
Marion has a question.
Yeah, I just wanted some more specifics. So what were the things you took out and added, and how, I can't picture what it looked like.
Sorry, I should have maybe put up my presentation. I guess I could still. So first of all, serving a menu of like pizza, and you can see on our website at plasticfreelunch.org, I have photos at the bottom. So any handheld menu would automatically eliminate the need for plastic utensils. We still have to allow for student to request if student wanted a fork or spoon for whatever reason. But if you have pizza, and then we served salad in New York City as I think they called it crudité style. San Diego's calling it dipper bar, which is much more attractive name for it. I love it, where so they're not eliminating the salad bar, but everything's cut vegetables and then with dipping sauce. One of the huge contaminants is typically the condiment packets. Just like when you get food delivered, you know, it's like all that little plastic crap that comes with everything. So these condiment packets are huge, always a problem within the organics bin, and they're actually the low-hanging fruit. That's one of the things that's easiest to get rid of. We have a report. It's also on our website page there. We did cost comparison, and we found out that by serving condiments, so mustard, ketchup, salad dressing in bulk, so it could be a squeeze jar, it could be a pump jar. Actually, some schools on Plastic Free Lunch Day last May in New York City, the school food staff used a ladle and ladled it onto the plate. That took them more time, and time is very precious in school food service, you know, in many schools, but it worked. So that's also really interesting to see. And then we could show through this study that actually it's a cost saving. Another low-hanging fruit is the utensils take only, so similar what Seema was saying, first of all, just don't give out those damn packets, you know, it's so much plastic, and usually a kid might not even touch the napkin, they might use the fork, they might not take anything, and they still take it. So having only giving out utensils upon request, and that's another initiative that could happen first on Plastic Free Lunch Day. It's like a great day to start it. And then most school kitchens see really quickly afterwards, it's like, well, that's not that hard. You know, put out the signs are out there. Why don't we do that every day? Or especially like on days where there's a menu, a handheld menu. Other kinds of handheld menus are burgers, whether it's a veggie burger, a regular burger, a turkey burger, whatever it is. Pizza, as I mentioned, tacos, burritos, mozzarella sticks. They're all handheld foods. And we expect to
Okay.
see other kinds of culturally sensitive or culturally appropriate menus across the country, which will be interesting to see. There's also like egg rolls, for instance, or different Asian foods that might be handheld.
Okay. So basically just what you do for toddlers before they ever learn to use forks.
It's totally, I love that, Marion. I'm going to
So
use
it's a
that.
grandmother, right?
Like who needs that, right?
Finger
And-
foods.
And right now there's, if schools, if kids are washing hands in school, they're washing hands anyway. If they're not, they're not. And then there's fruit and a lot of other packaging in school food. Typically, a lot of other food comes prepackaged, and that's a longer conversation. But of course, the more we move towards scratch cooking, which is that most of the meal is homemade. It's not coming prepackaged. It's not a burger that's delivered to the school in boxes, and the burgers are all in plastic that are being heated up in a microwave and then being put on the plate. Then there's chip
Mhm.
bags. And of course, the chip bags are multi-layered with, it's not just plastic, they're total trash also. There's a lot of plastic film wrap. Sandwiches are another low-hanging fruit. So what we did in New York City schools was the sandwiches were prepared in bulk again. So rather than individually wrapping each sandwich in film, plastic film, they were put into pans, either a pan that held 15 or a pan that held 25, and then covered with aluminum foil. And we did, that's in our cost study also, cost saving study. And I was concerned, foil's expensive. I wasn't really sure. I thought, well, it might cost more to do that, but actually it didn't. We still saved money. And of course, the aluminum foil is at least, highly recyclable. Plastic film is like, you could question whether any plastic is recyclable. And then of course, plastic film is, it's trash. Do most schools not have dishwashers? Oh gosh, no. Well, it depends. So that's a really good question, Luna. In some districts, it's really worth, if you're moving towards zero waste school food service, advocating for reusables and dishwashers at the top, at the beginning. And there now are grants available through Plastic Free Restaurants. Charles Meyer, I forgot his middle name, and I can share all that information. I didn't put all that together, but you can email me and I'll share that. He's giving out grants if you can show how much plastic you're eliminating in a school. It doesn't really work for large districts, but for smaller districts or individual schools, it does. California just had the first bill introduced, which was a great state bill that I've talked about it to a city council member here. We haven't talked about it in New York statewide. It was actually just vetoed today, I won't tell you, but in advance, so you don't get too excited. But it was a bill to fund dishwashers in public schools. And the governor said I didn't read about it yet myself, but somebody just texted me and said the governor vetoed it because Governor Newsom said that's already being covered in another funding that the state's providing for schools. But it's really too bad. It's a great idea for a bill, and we could push for something like that. Maybe even make it a better bill, write it better so that it would include dishwashers and the reusable containers. There's also other systems in districts that maybe some school buildings don't have the plumbing or the infrastructure for dishwashers. This is really true across New York City, and many buildings that are just old or were built at a time in between, like sometimes it's just like an era of when schools were built and they just didn't make kitchens big enough. They weren't, school food wasn't a focus. And there are services that will pick up and wash. And we're doing a pilot with that, with Redish in the spring. And hopefully the pilot will include non-plastic reusables, so stainless steel reusables, which is not part of their line now. But, we have major health concerns about plastic contact with food, as well as microplastics and what happens to the plastics being manufactured and when they're released into the environment, as you probably all know very well. And I have a question for 11 for November 2nd, plastic-free lunch day. Do schools switch to reusables for one day? Well, that would be great. Yeah, I would love that idea from Ithaca. It's such a great idea, but we don't really have the funding to do that. So what they do switch to, let's say there's a school district, because many are still using styrofoam trays. I don't know how many, we haven't been able to get that information, but there are quite a few. And so encouraging for those menus to use paper boats. So it's kind of like those hot dog trays, but a little bigger. That's what we used for Trayless Tuesdays in New York City. Students, a lot of kids have issues around food types touching, but it's mainly saucy food. So like if you had a pasta menu, that would be complicated. But again, handheld menu, like we've done it with pizza day or mozzarella sticks. And then they put their cut vegetables. Most kids don't mind if that touches. It's really the sauce that's a little unappealing, I guess, to kids. Good question. And why not? I mean, if you could do it for a day, boy, I would sure love it. But it's a lot of work also in terms of the training for a school cafeteria. It's a big lift for one day. Are there other questions? Thank you so much. And thank you for all the great work you're doing in Ithaca. You know, I'd love to get more schools involved in Ithaca. And also, we also have a few college campuses on board. So I wanted to say that also, it'd be great to have Bennington on board. And I haven't had a chance to write that email yet. We have a lot of support there through great Bennington interns we've had at Cafeteria Culture. Thank you again to Beyond Plastics and Judith. And we have now 3 college campuses. They don't have time to go, the larger campuses don't have time to really make the change with their vendors. Most of them have vendors, but their student organizations are leading like a plastic-free day on campus. So it could be a day to ban plastic bottles or to promote, maybe more positive promote bring your own cups, bring your own coffee cup, your own water bottle, your own utensils. It's kind of an exciting day to do that. So I encourage all of you also, if you have the opportunity, if you're connected to higher ed, a college or university, to please share that. And we do have on our website page a guide specifically for colleges to lead plastic-free lunch day.
Thank you so much, Debbie. If you do get your school to participate in plastic-free lunch day, please let us know. Debbie dropped her email in the chat because we would love to share the good news on social media, and I'm sure Cafeteria Culture would as well. So that's a wrap right on the dot. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. You're going to get the follow-up email tomorrow with this recording and with the agenda with all the links, including the Cafeteria Culture link with the toolkit to the plastic-free lunch day. So happy Halloween, everybody. We will see you on the second Wednesday of November.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alexis and Christina and everybody, really. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for the time. And let me know if you have any additional questions. I'm actually putting together a flyer. Some people have asked for print. We don't have it. So we have a lot of, I met with San Diego schools today. They had a lot of new requests for resources. So we're adding new resources all the time to our website. So we'll probably add a lot this weekend. And then we'll probably have a page just for resources.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Thanks for all the great work you're doing. I'm so really impressed and inspired. Thank you. Hi, Ann. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.